Welcome, Pod.
Welcome back into TCM Pod. Chris Mathis, Spencer Mathis. Glad to be back here with you guys again, coming off of what was, I would say, a disappointing, underwhelming national championship game on Monday night between the Michigan Wolverines, who finally get their national championship, first one since 1997, over the Washington Huskies. The final score 34-13 in that one. As the two storylines were Michael Penix Jr., how he would handle that defense there that Michigan has, and then will Jim Harbaugh win a national championship before he departs from Michigan. And immediately right after the game, I tweeted out now which NFL team will take a shot on Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh, my correction there, and what he'll be able to do there regarding his next opportunity, which I believe will happen in the NFL. A lot of job openings, but first and foremost, I just felt a little bit disappointed in the game on Monday night. Washington was outmanned. They did have somewhat of a comeback. If Penix could have hit on one of those late throws, it was one where the receiver was open. They were still in that football game. But unfortunately, Michael Penix Jr. just could not handle the stress, the pressure, and the constant defensive lineman breathing down his neck throughout the entire game. And on top of that, he was banged up too.
Yeah, the Washington offensive line heading into that game was so good. And as soon as the spread came out 5.5, I think everyone kind of expected that the Michigan defensive line was going to dominate. And most people thought that the defensive line and the linebackers would dominate rushing the passer. Instead, it was four-man rushes the whole game. And that's really what got to Penix. Ended up getting him injured a little bit. Wasn't his throwing arm, but again, anytime you get injured anywhere near your arm or your rib cage as a quarterback on either side, it can really, really hurt you. And obviously, Penix was banged up in that game. He was missing a lot of easy throws early on in the game, though. I go back there down 14-3. They had a fourth down and about 7 to go, and just a wildly inaccurate pass by him to a wide open guy. Obviously, the guy maybe could have made the most spectacular catch to bring that one down, and I think the game would have been at least a little bit closer than what the final score was. But overall, Penix, a bad performance, definitely hurts his draft stock. I still don't think he was a first-round pick unless he goes off in that national championship, wins the game. Instead, not a great performance by him. He got injured, and I think he's probably going to settle down at second or third round, probably late second, early third round pick for Penix. But overall, game was underwhelming, I think. Honestly, I think that's to be expected with a team like Washington going up against a powerhouse like Michigan. People were thinking that maybe this is the same Michigan team from last year that lost to TCU. Instead, it was a brand new Michigan team with a lot of guys that were returning and that were hungry, that hadn't taken that loss like the previous Michigan team had done. And these guys went off. I mean, a great performance by that defense. Pretty good performance by the running backs. I have to say, J.J. McCarthy is another Kenny Pickett. He should not declare for the draft if he wants to be anywhere near the first 3 rounds because he's not a great quarterback. Final stats for him, I think he threw 8 throws, had like 100 yards total.
18. Yeah, 18 throws.
18 passes. I think
10 of 18.
Yeah, 10 of 18. I mean, not a good game in accuracy, not a good game in yardage. And I think he has to stay one more year, even if Jim Harbaugh doesn't return. But still, not a guy that I think a lot of people are high on in the first place. But again, national championship for him, and that's really all that matters. So obviously, the Penix draft stock, I think, has gone down as we near April.
Yeah, J.J. McCarthy, not a great game. They didn't really call on him to do much in that game. He didn't have to. They just had rushing success throughout the night. I mean, that team dominated that Husky defense. And you look at the rushing yards, 303 rushing yards. They dominated, averaged 7.8 yards per play there in Michigan and the Wolverines. And with that, J.J. McCarthy, yeah, I don't think he's a top pick by any means. I do think he is expected to go to the NFL draft, whether you agree or not, Spence. I think that he does want to finish his career with that, and he probably will if he hasn't already declared for that draft. But Michael Penix Jr. finally faced a really good defense, hands down the best defense that he'll face and that he did face throughout his college football career. And he struggled under pressure. I mean, the guy finished, I think, 27 of 51, 1 touchdown pass, 2 interceptions. He was banged up. And I know he's a warrior. I tweeted it out after the game that he was a warrior, a great leader. He's tough. But at a certain point in a game like that, yes, it's the national championship game, but it's the last game of your college football career, and you have all of these teams and scouts looking at you for the next level, and you're sitting there banged up, and you're just throwing passes up just to throw them up, and you're taking shots left and right. I think at a certain point you have to gut check and say, hey, you know what? I need to pull myself from this game. We're not going to win this game. This game's over. I'm hurting my draft stock with each and every snap, and I'm getting more hurt on every play. So brutal performance there by Michael Penix. I still think he's going to be a pretty solid quarterback. I don't know if he's going to be great at the next level. That game definitely did bring concern to me. But really cool to announce to you guys, and Spence, I don't think I previewed this with you before the show, but this is our 100th episode of TCM Pod. So it's been over 2 years now since we started the podcast, 100 episodes, and over 2 years. That's averaging about one a week for 2 years. So that's pretty incredible. Super excited, super proud of you hopping on with me as much as you can, and obviously us continuing to build our audience, and all of you guys for liking, commenting, sharing this podcast, and also, agreeing with us, calling us out, whatever it is. We do appreciate it. 100 episodes of TCM Pod. We also appreciate all of those that have even shared the video, disliked the video, whatever it is. We appreciate you guys. You guys make it that much more fun knowing that you're out there, knowing that you guys keep up with us. And we've got a crazy week, of course, in the NFL, super wild card weekend. Before we get into that and our predictions for these games, there are now 6 head coaching jobs open in the National Football League following the firings of Arthur Smith there in Atlanta. Of course, the Raiders are still kind of up in arms regarding their head coach situation. The Titans move on from Mike Vrabel Tuesday afternoon, which was a bit of a shocker to me. The guy did not have his solidified quarterback, and they decided to move on from him there in Nashville. But as of right now, 6 openings: Chargers, Commanders, Falcons, Panthers, Raiders, Titans, and of course the speculation regarding the New England Patriots as well. But of those 6 openings that are currently open, put the Patriots to the side, Spence. Which of these coaching positions excites you most? Which do you feel like is the best opportunity for a head coach or someone looking for that head coaching role in the NFL?
Yeah, it has to either be the Atlanta Falcons or the Los Angeles Chargers. Looking at it from a strength of schedule perspective and a perspective of what division you're going into, I think the Atlanta Falcons head coaching job is the most intriguing because 7-9 team with an incompetent head coach but crazy talent around you. I think you still have a year or 2 left on Kyle Pitts. Drake London still has 3 years left on his rookie contract. Bijan Robinson just got there. Decent offensive line. They're going to have to address that in the draft. They've got a really good center. Looking at the defense, though, that defense was top 10 this year. And you've got Jesse Bates locked up for a couple more years. You've got a pretty good secondary. Definitely going to add one more pass rusher. But the Atlanta Falcons are a strong team. And the really big thing they need is a quarterback. And I think whoever comes in is going to be a veteran head coach who wants a veteran quarterback to ride and go out with. And you told me to put the Bill Belichick speculation to the side. But if Bill Belichick becomes available, I would love to see. I mean, I'm a Buccaneers fan, don't want to see the Falcons do good, but Bill Belichick going to Atlanta to right the ship after that 28-3 comeback, I think would do wonders for the city of Atlanta. And they need a complete culture rehaul. There's a couple of coaches in there right now that can do that for you. Coach Vrabel, Jim Harbaugh as well. I think those 2 guys are very, very intriguing for a franchise that's gone 7-9 the last 3 years. I don't think they've had a winning season in a very long time. Mediocre at best every single year. And if you can get a program rehaul with a guy like Harbaugh or Bill Belichick or maybe even Mike Vrabel, I think the Falcons are looking strong next year and they'd have a great chance to win the NFC South. Aside from the Saints, who I think they're going to stick with Dennis Allen. So anybody that comes in is going to make the Atlanta Falcons probably the strongest team in the NFC South, depending on what quarterback they want to bring in. And the big name for me, I think that would fit well with Atlanta right now, is Kirk Cousins heading into next season.
Yeah, would it be interesting there, obviously? And you look at the Falcons and their turmoil they've had over the years, and Arthur Smith was not the answer. Bijan Robinson, number 8 overall draft pick, handled just 47% of the Falcons running back carries this year, which is baffling to me. I know he was a rookie. You're trying to get him eased in, trying to acclimate him to the NFL speed, the NFL aggressiveness, the whole 9 yards. You've got Algier there in the backfield too, but it doesn't make sense that you take a running back at pick number 8 and just hand him the ball 47% of the time, which, I'm thinking maybe a 55-45 split would have been more like it to me. A lot of question marks there. You mentioned London, Pitts. They do have some pieces there. And again, the thing that stands out, and you referenced it, was the division, the NFC South. You've got a Tampa Bay Buccaneers team that won this NFC South by a score of 9-0 on the road last week. If that doesn't tell you that this division is up for grabs next year, unless something super changes, then I think that you're crazy, because this is a division that anybody could have won this year besides Carolina. They were the one that really struggled. It's going to be a few years for Carolina to really rebuild what they have. The Saints, they are a head coach away, in my opinion. I don't know if Derek Carr is the answer, but I don't believe in Dennis Allen. Neither does backup quarterback Jameis Winston, who went against Dennis Allen's play call. My goodness, man. Jameis Winston, he's something else, and there was something spiteful there with that decision to go for it. It was a kneel and victory formation against Atlanta, and he hands the ball off. They score a touchdown. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that when Derek Carr was banged up, they still let Derek Carr play, and they never once really turned over the keys to Jameis Winston. And it just didn't feel like Jameis was loved there by the head coach. Now, the players, they all loved him. Jimmy Graham went to Twitter and said that he was his favorite player he's ever played with. But when you look at the fact that your quarterback, even if he is just a backup, was willing to do something like that and go against your head coach when you're already dominating this game, tells me a lot about that quarterback and head coaching duo there in New Orleans. I think that the Atlanta Falcons job is the most intriguing to me. You look at the Chargers, yeah, they have Justin Herbert, but they've had so much turnover there. This is a quarterback that's had to deal with so many coordinators, so many different offenses in just a short time span, and their defense there, not very good whatsoever. So there's so many they need a running back. No running back there. I know Joshua Kelly's in the backfield. He didn't do so much this year. Austin Eckler did not have a great year. He's definitely lost a step, maybe even 2 steps. The Atlanta Falcons job is the most intriguing to me if I were a head coach looking for this position. And Bill Belichick, I don't know if he's the answer. I know they're trying to rebuild the culture there in Atlanta. I think he could do so, but I just don't know about bringing in a young quarterback with Bill Belichick. And you did say veteran, so I'll give you that. You did mention a veteran in Kirk Cousins. Maybe that would work, but if it's draft a quarterback, I don't think that would work out in Atlanta in 2024 whatsoever.
Yeah, I think that whoever gets Bill Belichick is if he is gone from the Patriots, which for the Patriots standpoint, I don't see any reason to really keep Bill Belichick on the team. He needs to go somewhere else, like Brady had to go somewhere else in order to win again. Obviously, the Patriots are just a bad franchise at this point, and nobody can feel bad for them. They've got bad quarterbacks. They still got a pretty good defense, though, and Bill Belichick is a big reason of that. And that's why I think the Atlanta job is a very intriguing thing if he were to be let free of the New England Patriots, because great defensive guy, great defensive-minded head coach, and I think that'd be very important for them because that's a guy you can rally around, and a lot of veteran players will appreciate him, and I think you'd probably get another year out of Calais Campbell as well. And these young guys could learn a lot from not being coached by Arthur Smith. So the Atlanta Falcons job, in my opinion, is the most intriguing. Also, your opinion as well, but a veteran quarterback, I think, is going to have to come along with them.
Yeah, no, and that does make a lot of sense. It's not necessarily the Brady effect, but it is the fact that you look at his career and say, hey, this man's won 6 Super Bowls in his career. We haven't won many games here. Let's shut up. Yes, he is a strict coach. Yes, he isn't the most fun guy, but winning is fun. When you start to win football games, you have fun. No matter how disciplined it is, no matter how many sacrifices you have to make. Once you start winning, all of that goes out the door. Now, a lot of questions regarding Bill Belichick and the Patriots when they started to lose, but that was years of culminating of losses there in New England, and that adds up after a while. Winning and losing is contagious, and maybe that would be a great culture change there with Bill Belichick. And I know that a guy in Arthur Blank, I believe, yes, Arthur Blank, the GM of the Atlanta Falcons, would love to, and he's also the owner of the Atlanta Falcons, CEO, the whole 9 yards, the chairman. He would love to have winning there, winning culture once again. That's what they're looking for. That's what they're going to get if they do bring in a guy like Bill Belichick. Spence, anything else there on the job opening situation? Again, National Football League already 6 openings as of January 10th. Going to see a lot more here as we end out the regular season, look ahead into the playoffs and so forth.
And again, the other thing that goes along with the Atlanta Falcons is Bill Belichick would probably get the only opportunity to be a GM there as well with the Atlanta Falcons. He could work along with Arthur Blank instead of probably just being a head coach wherever else he goes, because a lot of teams want a regular general manager, not a head coach. Belichick has kind of failed in the draft over the last 5 to 10 years. That's been a big part of him. But again, 2 GMs working together, if he goes to Atlanta, I think would be very beneficial for them. And they go with the veteran quarterback, then they can go offensive line with that number 8 overall pick and have a pretty stout offensive line next season, and add a couple of more key pieces on that defensive line. I think that they're going to win the South with ease next year if they were to get a guy like Bill Belichick and Kirk Cousins as their quarterback, because the last 2 years, 8-9 last year for the Buccaneers, this year 9-8 wins the division. Atlanta was each year 1 game out of winning the division. This year, again, we see the same thing. So culture change is going to happen in Atlanta regardless of who their new head coach is, but they're the most intriguing, and I think Bill Belichick would be a great fit for them.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see this all play out. And you look at the Buccaneers and you say, hey, well, guys, the Bucs have won that division 3 straight years. They're now back-to-back division champs with head coach Todd Bowles. Why couldn't that team do it? Well, you look at the situation regarding contracts and money, and Baker Mayfield only got paid $4 million this year before incentives, and now he's going to have to get paid. Tristan Wirfs is going to have to get paid big-time bucks. Antoine Winfield Jr., another guy that's going to have to get paid. Chase McLaughlin, the kicker, he's going to have to get paid. So many different pieces there in Tampa. You're going to have to lose Mike Evans, also another name. Chris Godwin, maybe he can restructure his contract to some degree. But so many different question marks and so many different guys there with the Buccaneers that have to get paid. And again, it's not like the Bucs are a great football team. They beat a 2-win team on Sunday, 9-0. That's the Carolina Panthers to win the NFC South. A culture change would do the Atlanta Falcons a great deal of deed there. Now, moving on now regarding the Buccaneers winning the NFC South. I know that we did, talk about Baker Mayfield a lot last week and where he's been able to come from and finally get a starting job here back in the NFL. But this guy hopped in, so-called replaced Tom Brady this season, and he took over the reins, did a fantastic job. And I'm talking strictly from week 1 to week 18, the final regular season game of the season. Baker Mayfield really impressed me. He proved me wrong. I thought we would maybe see 3 or 4 good games from Baker Mayfield, but he was much more consistent than I expected. Yes, he did battle through injury. No, he was not perfect, but nobody is. But to see him set career marks in year 1 with a rookie offensive coordinator, Dave Canales, an offensive line that was turmoil, could not run the ball either the first 5-6 games. Big progress. Very impressed with Baker Mayfield and what he did so far this year. I know he's banged up heading into this super wild card round of the playoffs against the Eagles on Monday night, but have to be impressed with what Baker did, a guy who bounced around from team to team the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, they gave Hurts and Mayfield both an extra day to rest with the game being on Monday. And again, Baker Mayfield will be the Buccaneers quarterback next season, and I feel good about that with Canales going into year number 2 as well. I think in a couple of years, Canales could be a head coaching candidate. Right now, I think he's just being brought in just to get the limelight a little bit because he's not ready to be a head coach if you've watched the Buccaneers this season.
In Carolina.
Yeah, he's not ready. It's interesting that Carolina saw the Bucs put up 9 points and then said, hey, let's get that guy as our head coach next season. That was an interesting bring-in. But again, Canales, I think, will improve next year. Mayfield with a great season with the amount of money he was paid. Again, 28 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Very good year, 4,000 passing yards. So the Bucs are set with their quarterback next year. Definitely not going to go with a young guy because set your franchise back a couple of years and the Bucs are still in a window where they can keep Mike Evans, they can keep Winfield, which is a lock right there, and a couple of other guys. Keeping these guys in-house will be huge for them, and they'll be able to improve next season again, and maybe make that NFC South a little bit tougher if Baker Mayfield can continue to improve as a starting quarterback. But again, I do like Canales, I like Mayfield, and I think that I think a couple of more years will be good for those two guys, and then eventually one of them will depart, and Tampa will have to start over fresh again.
Getting into this weekend's wild card matchups, it's super wild card weekend across the NFL. It's playoff time. This year has flown by. Check your calendars already. Week 2 of 2024, but a lot of storylines too, and we'll pick these games with the spread, Spence, as the Cleveland Browns take on the Texans there in Houston. AFC wild card game. Big game. Just the second time in 20 years that the Browns are in the playoffs. These two teams already played. They did play in Week 16. C.J. Stroud did not play in that matchup. Here he is. He's back. He will start this game against the Browns. The Texans, 2.5-point road, or I should say home underdogs against the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, I like the Browns. I like the Texans a lot as well, but rookie quarterback, even though they're the home team, I think that Browns defense is so good. I think they're going to rattle C.J. Stroud, and the Browns are going to come out on top. And that's kind of what I want to see as well with Joe Flacco having a little bit of a run again. I think that would be interesting to see. But I'm going to take the Browns in that game. What was the spread?
Yeah, 2.5. Browns are the road favorite.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Browns by 3 points.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch this matchup. I'm excited to watch all these games, truly. And I know it sounds cliche, but these two matchups on Saturday really intrigue me. I will also take the Browns to win. Joe Flacco gets the job done. I think C.J. Stroud still puts on a show. They are battling with some injuries right there in Houston. Give me the Browns, and they'll cover the spread. Huge matchup Saturday night. Dolphins at Chiefs. It's going to be a very frigid, cold matchup here for the Dolphins in Kansas City. Tyreek Hill has a chance to beat his former team this time in Kansas City. These two teams did play. I think it was week 9, and Kansas City won by 7, 21 28-14. That game was in Germany. It was ugly. We were expecting a lot of points. Did not get that. This time around, the Chiefs, 4-point favorites at home over the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, Kansas City, give me them by a touchdown. I've seen Tua and the offense fail a couple of times. I think they really should have beat Buffalo last week. They did not, and I think we're going to see the same thing in the wild card game. The Chiefs are going to win. The home team, the weather favors them as well. Mahomes is going to have a good game, and I'm going to go with Kansas City by over the 4 points.
Yeah, I'll take the Chiefs to win as well. They're going to figure out something. This team knows how to win. The Dolphins, they've not been in this situation in quite a long time. They've not been a true contender until this year, and they really haven't proven it, really. Tua has not been stellar in crunch time. He threw a pick this past week against the Bills to lose the game. I'm going to take, of course, the Chiefs to win that game at home. I think this is a big game for Travis Kelce. I'm sure Taylor Swift is going to be there. I think he finally shows out and puts on a big performance. Sunday's game, Steelers at Bills. Bills, a large spread, the largest spread of the weekend. 10-point favorites at home over the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's going to be crazy. Josh Allen, 3-1 all time. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, I think that's going to end up being a close game. Give me the Buffalo Bills in that game by probably 3 or more points in that one. But again, the 10-point spread I think is too much for a playoff game. But TJ Watt was ruled out. I do think they still have a good pass rush without him. And I think Mason Rudolph is playing football well enough to not turn the ball over right now. And that's why I suspect a close game in that one, especially with Josh Allen's tendency to just throw the ball away at least twice a game. I mean, it feels like I'm watching Jameis Winston with legs, and that is the only reason that he is a top quarterback in the league is because he can run around and evade the negative plays that Jameis Winston just couldn't. But give me Buffalo in that one, but 10 is too high.
Give me Buffalo, and they cover the spread. Sounds crazy, but I think this is the game in which you finally see the Buffalo Bills team that we were all hoping to see. I know I was hoping to see. I'm going to take the Bills with the spread. Packers at Cowboys. This is a revenge game for head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, Mike McCarthy, going back to take on the Green Bay Packers. It is home there for Dallas, but he is playing against, I should say, coaching against his former team in the Packers. The Dallas Cowboys, 7.5-point favorites there at home over Green Bay.
Yeah, the Packers defense is just not good enough, in my opinion, for the Cowboys to go at home and lose the game in the wild card round. Give me the Cowboys in that one. I'm going to take them by a touchdown, so I guess that would mean the Packers would backdoor cover. Give me 7 points for Dallas. I think it'll be a close game. I like Jordan Love a lot. I think he showed a lot of talent this season. Very, very intriguing out of him if they can get that defense fixed for the years to come. Going from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers, now Jordan Love showing a ton of promise would be great for the Green Bay Packers franchise. But again, I don't think the Packers get it done with year one starter Jordan Love against that Dallas Cowboys team, who is the best they've been in probably since 2016, 2017, whenever Dak Prescott first came in with Zeke Elliott.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I'm excited to see this game. I do think that this is a game in which Dallas does win by 10. I think it's been double digits, number of games they've won by 20 or more points this season. I might be mistaken on the stat there, but it is a crazy stat whenever they do blow out their opponents. Pretty impressive stuff. I am going to take the Dallas Cowboys to cover in that game. Now, Sunday night's football game, the Los Angeles Rams, Detroit Lions. Yes, Matthew Stafford has a chance to get revenge against the Detroit Lions and finally win a playoff game in Detroit, this time for the opponent. The Detroit Lions, though, a 3-point favorite with Jared Goff.
Yeah, first home game for Detroit in the playoffs in forever. I think the atmosphere is just going to be so loud for Detroit. But Detroit, I think, is going to be heartbroken whenever that game comes to an end. And Matthew Stafford, at one point in his career, promised a playoff win at Ford Field for the Detroit Lions. I think he's going to get it with the Los Angeles Rams. That defense has played well. They've got a rookie that just dominates the pass rush. They've got a couple of guys, and they've done such a good job with all that dead cap money, just like the Buccaneers have done. They've done an incredible job, and Stafford is really playing well right now. No injuries heading to the playoffs for the first time in a long time for him. Even in that Super Bowl year, he had some injuries. And Puka Nacua, I think, is the X factor along with Cooper Kupp. And even their run game is good. I think they're a very good team, surprisingly out of nowhere, because before the season started, I thought maybe not even a playoff team. McVay has that team buzzing, and I'm going to say the Rams and Matthew Stafford go into Detroit, go into Ford Field, and they beat up on Jared Goff. They're going to win that game by 3 points exactly.
I'm going to take the Rams to win this football game on the road as well. I know it's going to be crazy. The Ram fans do travel, but I am going to take the Rams to win. And that's all I'm going to say. I don't know about how many points. Could be 1 point, but I do think Los Angeles will prevail over Detroit. That closes out Sunday's games. And now for Monday Night Football, the Philadelphia Eagles come right back to Tampa Bay, a game that we saw week 3 in which the Buccaneers were slaughtered at home. This time around, the Bucs, a bit of a better team. Eagles, they're descending. They've not looked good over the last 6 weeks. The Eagles, though, still 3-point favorites, this time on the road. You know, you look at the math and you say, hey, a team plays the same team twice in the same year, doesn't usually go 2-0. And then the fact that it's both been in Tampa Bay, again, Eagles 3-point favorites on the road.
Ba, 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 ba. I saw a video today on Twitter of a baby picking helmets, and the baby walked up to the Buccaneers helmet and picked the Buccaneers. So give me Tampa Bay at home. Again, the second time they're playing them. I think in week 3 after that Bucs loss, if you would have told any Buccaneer fan that the Buccaneers would be in the playoffs going up against the Philadelphia Eagles, and the spread was only 3.5 points for Philadelphia to win that game, regardless of where the game was, I think people would have thought that you're crazy. Instead, Philadelphia has sucked the last month and a half, and I think they're going to continue to suck because their offensive coordinator has shown no adjustments, and the Buccaneers defense has played well as of recent. Even against the Saints, I think they played good enough to win that game, just giving up the 23 points. But again, give me the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in that game by 4 points over the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday Night Football in the playoffs.
I am excited for this one, obviously, as all fans should be. This is an intriguing matchup. Could this be the game in which the Philadelphia Eagles get right? They finally solve all their problems with A.J. Brown. Jalen Hurts banged up with that middle finger right here, if you guys can see that. Got banged up pretty good there on that throwing hand. That's a big deal. Baker Mayfield also banged up. He was banged up coming into this game against the Carolina Panthers. Now he's even more banged up with an ankle issue. So much going on, so many question marks surrounding the quarterback. I will be there reporting on the game. Super excited for that. Going to be a great time. You guys can keep up with Spencer or myself or both, even better, at L Savage Spence, at the Chris Mathis, or at TCM_pod on Twitter. Give me the Buccaneers to win. Now, I don't know. I don't care who the next opponent is, but they are going to get blown out the next round. But give me the Bucs to win here this round. They get it done in Tampa. Let's go. It's going to be awesome.
Run the table. Bucs all the way to the bowl with Baker Mayfield.
Write it down. All right, guys, that's another edition of TCM Pod. You hear it here first. It's Spencer Mathis, Chris Mathis, episode 100. We appreciate you guys. Thank you. Enjoy a great weekend of football.